It's the crew round 2. Get ready.
Hey viewers, so this is the first of a series that I'll be doing a top 10 for. And to start off the top 10 series for the year, this video will be covering the top 10 videos I want to make this year. Try wrapping your head around that exception. But that is to say that I have 10 top 10 videos to put on my YouTube channel. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. Understand that my top 10 is subjective and is no way representative of a factual tier list. Rather, this is just my list of opinions. But let's waste no time. We'll get right into it at
Number 10.
Top 10 supers. From rage arts to critical arts to X-rays to overdrives, super moves, whatever. You know what we mean when we say super move. Sometimes we pull these off for a hopeful comeback, laying all the eggs in one basket. Or sometimes we're just laying the smackdown on the opponent's Rudy Tooty Candy butt, then pulling off a mean flashy super move at the end to add a cherry on top. Regardless of what these super moves are for, I certainly have an opinion of what my favorite top 10 super moves in fighting games are.
Number 9.
Top 10 loading versus screens. Or versus loading screens. Did I get that right? As fighting games become more and more complex, the more information has to be loaded into the game, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the game to render all the information before the players can begin handing each other cans of duff. And sometimes, developers give the players a chance to see the opponent's face while the hypothetical referee sets up the stage. That video will go over the top 10 best versus screens in fighting games.
Number 8.
Top 10 arena fighters. There are a lot of fighting games, and within those fighting games reside a bunch of, subgenres of fighting games. One such subgenre of fighting games is what a lot of the FGC, fighting game community, calls arena fighters, or battle arena fighters. Generally, these fighting games feature full range movement, offering more sense of freedom, but they're still retained within a dedicated battle space. Oftentimes, these games focus more on the spatial awareness, and in some cases the environmental usage as part of the focused gameplay. In this video, we'll talk about the top 10 battle arena fighting games.
Number 7.
Top 10 Kusoge fighters. So in this context, we're using the word Kusoge quite loosely. First, let's understand that Kusoge usually means bad or so bad that it's good kind of deal. It actually goes a lot deeper than that, but we're not here for the origins of the term. Go see Juyuno's What is a Kusoge video for more information. Just know that when I say Kusoge, for the context of this top 10 case, is what we're listing games that are either unpopular, forgotten, unreleased, or just not so known about. And in this context, I've been playing a lot of Kusoges lately. We will talk about my top 10 Kusoge fighters that I've gotten to play.
Number 6.
Top 10 voice lines. Fighting games just wouldn't have that same impact without hearing the characters express their hostility, their focus, their mental aptitude, or even just saying the one-liners at the end or before a match. This adds flavor and personality to both the character and the game. But this top 10 won't talk about just the Hadokens of voice lines. We'll also include the in-game commentator lines as well to be a part of this video. And because, let's not forget, every fair fight needs a finish him to keep the players engaged.
Number 5.
Top 10 Bajikwan characters. In any fighting game, I usually main Bajikwan characters, or the character that closest represents Bajikwan. There's just something about applying the martial arts, deploying palms, shoulders, knees, and bows. And I know it's not pronounced Bajikwan, okay? But please bear with me through the duration of that video, because I'm going to be pronouncing it incorrectly all the way through. I know it's something like Bajishuan or whatever, I don't know. I have not taken the language to actually know how to pronounce it correctly. So, for that reason, I ask you to bear with me. That video will go over my top 10 favorite Bajikwan fighting game characters.
Number 4.
Top 10 fighting game UIs. Some games put a ton of information on the screen, other than just the health bar. Between health bars, super meters, drive gauges, guard meter, stun meter, burst meter, so on and so forth, we're going to list my top 10 fighting game UIs that I think are the most pleasant on the eye.
Number 3.
Top 10 combos. Fighting is an art of combining offense and defense, or sometimes just offense if you play Marvel. But a beatdown is part of a good fight, and what better way to express a beatdown than with a satisfying can of whoop ass. This will probably be my hardest video I make yet because there are a lot of fighting games to go through, 10 times many more characters, and 100 times many more combos to decide and choose from. These combos can be anything from practical tournament level bread and butters to the most flashy, impractical, but stylish combos in fighting games. I will take on the challenge of selecting my top 10 favorite combos that I love the most across fighting games.
Number 2.
Top 10 Game Over Countdowns. Back in the day, fighting games were usually met at the arcades on coin-operated cabinets. And once you lost at an arcade ladder, the game had to decide whether or not the player still wanted to try again, or if the player was finished. And to do that, the game had to give the player a time limit. Generally, they would have about 10 seconds or so, just barely enough time to put in 2 quarters to run the set back. To this day, some fighting games keep this tradition even though fighting games are equipped with rollback netcode and are played from home to connect to the online experience. Regardless, we're going to talk about the top 10 best game over countdowns in fighting games.
Bonus round.
Before we get into the number 1, I just want to say that one of the videos that I wanted to make, and I still might make anyway, is a top 10 install supers in fighting games. And that is to say, the top 10 super moves that are install supers. These supers, in case you're not aware, generally don't do a lot of damage by themselves. Instead, these supers provide the player and the character with a temporary buff for a limited amount of time. However, the challenge that I'm faced here with is finding a nice variety of install supers since most of them accomplish similar goals, which is granting the player access to custom combos in one form or another. And if I do make that video, we're going to exclude BlazBlue Central Fiction's overdrive mechanic, even though if by all intent and purposes that they serve to function just like install supers.
Number 1.
I have been waiting a long time to make this video, and currently I'm playing through a lot of fighting games this year. What I'm trying to accomplish is completing a list of 1 fighting game a week, which is 52 fighting games this year, once a week. Once I am finished playing as many fighting games as I possibly can, given with the amount of free time that I am given, I'm going to try my best to complete the top 10s for each of this video. At my number 1, I have a top 10 favorite background stages of all fighting games. Stages are just as important as any other part of the fighting game, and in some fighting games, the stage is just an aesthetic, but still necessary to give the game and the player some sense of identity. In other fighting games, it plays a very crucial part into adding the gameplay experience. Whether it's just for the sheer aesthetic or for the proper practical utilization of the stage itself, I will launch the 10 best stages I've ever laid my eye on. Yes, I did say I because I do wear an eye patch. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video. That was my very first ever top 10. So if you enjoyed it, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next top 10.